Welcome back to another episode. Once again, I'm your host, Kirsten, and I have my co-host, the lovely
Maxine. Hello.
And hello. Everybody's very conservative in New York, Christopher Wright.
That's right. And we are the Politics Podcast. Today we're on episode 6, so that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Time is really flying, which is awesome. Thanks to everyone for sharing the podcast and leaving comments. Please continue to share it with friends and family. Follow us on the Politics Podcast on Instagram. And we are working on a YouTube, so we'll be up there soon. That's like important, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
very.
We need to get like his views. Like we really need to get Chris. And if you
Gotta
don't
walk down the street like Chris.
yeah, I know we might have to take this on the road, but definitely follow Chris also on YouTube. He has a really good following. I mean, you for the liberal and like independent vote, you might not like what he's saying, but
It's more conservative based.
It's more
Conservative in New York.
but we still support because he has a voice, and it's important for everyone to have the voice.
I appreciate that.
So we are officially available on Spotify. That's some cool news, which is really good. You know, we're working on Apple, but you know, we're getting further into this. You know, it's only episode 6 for us, so we're still building.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps, and you can also find us on the Anchor app. So check us out there, and let's politic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Cool. So how was your week? I haven't seen you guys in a while. How was your week, Max?
Well, I just got back from Haiti.
Yes.
So yeah, it was a very emotional
Again.
and at times this is my 4th year in a row. I do a lot of missionary type work out there, and so it's always very impactful but emotional and kind of dramatic. So what
does it feel like? Because this is something that I don't think anybody, like, I don't say anybody, because some people do have visited Haiti, but for those who haven't, what is Haiti like for the novice? And be honest. I mean, you've
it's
been
bad.
there a few times.
It's really bad.
Okay.
Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere.
Wow.
I think it's 59% of people are living on less than $2 a day.
Woo.
Half of the children are not in school. And you just see extreme levels of poverty. You know, I mostly stay in Port-au-Prince, which is where you'll see the most.
Port-au-Prince.
Yes. And it's just devastating. Infrastructure. I mean, I was just saying to my friend when we were, because it's like crazy. The road, there aren't even roads. And I'm like, I said to him, I was like, when I get home, I'm not complaining about that pothole anymore because they don't even have like roads and hot water, electricity.
How was the gas? There was a problem with like the gas. Like, I remember hearing that they were like striking because the gas prices were going higher, and like people were like,
they were going to strike the day after I left, so they're striking all the time. Most of it is necessary, but yeah, I mean, when I was there, I think it was the 3rd day in the row that they hadn't had electricity.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty common in those, in like
they go 3 or 4 days without electricity.
Oh,
the whole country.
I mean, in Puerto Rico, it happens. Like it happens in a lot of islands. It's not like
to me,
Bahamas.
it's ridiculous because I know solar is expensive, but all they need is solar out there because they have sun
every day.
Constantly.
Yeah.
But you see, now this is great, and I'm going to ask about your week, but since we're on this topic, I want to kind of just elaborate on that. One, we have to remember that Haiti was hit with a massive earthquake a couple years back, and that like devastated, like for an impoverished impoverished country, like that decimated whatever, and they haven't caught
a break since.
They have
one natural disaster after another.
It's always something. And honestly, those are my people. Some for you to who a lot of people don't know, but my mom is half Haitian, so I really, and I grew up like being around a lot of Haitian people. So, I've never been. I'd like to go, very, very soon. But I do know that it's one of these things that, the reason why they're so poor is because, I hate to say it, they're colonizers. When they were the first country in all of, outside of U.S., they were the first country to free themselves, right? First black country. And that was in 1804. That was right after we did it in the U.S. So they helped Dominican Republic. Like, they helped everybody. And I think they're paying the price for that. I really do. I think, France does not give them a break. There's an embargo from U.S. that I don't even know if it's lifted yet. So a lot of this, a lot of the things that happen, like, and they're still very proud people.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
You know that. You've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
They're very proud people. They're very good people. It's just they had it hard, and they've always had it hard, but they've always been proud.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say one thing, and then I'll end it on a positive note,
Please.
and then we'll bring it over to Chris. But I totally agree with that, but at the same time, and what breaks my heart, not only in Haiti, but a lot of black countries, is we're stealing from our own people. And the government is black, and it is corrupt to another degree in Haiti. That's why they were protesting in February. I was going to go originally in February, but they were rioting because I think it was like $3 or $4 billion had been taken from them. So
it's like, how can a country like that
their own people are taking? It's just there's a lot of corruption out there, and that it's devastating. But I'll just end and say, I have a place in my heart for Haiti that I really just can't even describe. There's something about the people, the Haitian people, their resiliency, and they're just so humble and loving. And it's just, I've never experienced it anywhere else, and that's why I keep going every year.
And you love the food. The food is amazing.
I love the food.
And if you can try Haitian food, you definitely do so. The food is amazing.
But I've never left Haiti without a new level of wisdom. And yeah, it's very profound. So each time it's just an amazing experience.
Awesome.
So that was my week.
She had fun. Okay.
What about you, Chris? You weren't saving the world in Haiti.
No.
What were you doing over here?
I don't know if I can top that week. That's a heck of a week.
Well, he got the fresh lineup though. You see his hair. He got a fresh lineup.
Hey, he got it fresh. Got my barber's Haitian, so
okay.
Look at this. He does work.
Look how connected we are today.
Yeah. But I had a busy, very busy week.
You mentioned you were with Senator. You were with the senator?
Yeah, Senator Marty Golden. He came to Manhattan, and he came for an event. He's a former senator in New York here, and this guy just came in there, and for an older man, he really brought the heat, and he got us all really pumped up. Talking about the upcoming election and what we got to do as supporters of conservatism, and he really got us hyped up, and so that was a good. And that was last night, and before that, I just been running around like a madman. Like, oh my goodness! Like I was telling the ladies here when I got here, I haven't been straight home from work since about a week and a half now. So, and I've been, and you guys are familiar with New York, but I'm in like the Flatbush, Brooklyn area. So there's like no trains out there. So I've been going to Manhattan and back, and getting home at like 12:30 in the morning, and there's no buses or nothing running. So it's just been insane. So very busy, but it's a good busy though, because I'm going to a lot of events. I had a couple speeches I did myself.
Oh, how was that?
That was very good, very good.
Did you say Democratic Plantation?
Yeah, I might let that one out. I might say it in my next speech. But no, I just been. I'm getting better at the speeches. At first I was kind of. The only speech I've done before recently was in high school, like a speech class. So, and I did pretty good there. But now. It's I was a little rusty, so I was a little stiff at first, but I'm starting to loosen up and really open up, and more opportunities are coming. And as you guys know, next weekend I'll be in DC for the Walkaway 1-year anniversary, invited by Brandon Strock to be a VIP guest. So
What's that Walkaway?
Walkaway is a movement that was started by a gentleman named Brandon Strock. He's a homosexual male from Manhattan, former hairstylist, and he started a movement that he labeled Walkaway because
we're laughing over here. You went really deep, gay.
Yeah. I'm trying to be politically correct here.
Okay,
I know there's people on the left listening. I don't want to be like, yo, gay dude from Manhattan. Y'all know it.
Oh, that was funny. Sorry, that was funny. Carry on.
Definitely was like, okay, we're giving the professional
term being politically correct.
Yeah, being PC.
Okay.
But he started a movement because he was having an issue with the Democratic Party, some of their policies. So he started a thing called Walkaway, where he just made a video saying, hey, walk away from the Democratic Party. Now, that doesn't mean walk away and go to conservatism and be a Republican. He just says that the party right now is not meeting the standards that he can relate to. So he's like just telling people out there, like, don't feel like you have to, if you're a gay male or female, or if you're black or Hispanic, that you have to be a Democrat. You don't have to be anything. You get an independent minded person, be whatever you want to be when it comes to politics. So he says, make a choice. Don't feel like you're stuck to one party. So I joined that campaign, and my choice obviously was to walk to conservatism. So
I mean, I think there's become I think there's been a shift this last year that a lot of people of color have realized that they want to do more, or they want to be more than a Democrat. They feel like, the Democratic Party hasn't been, serving them. They've been there for the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party hasn't been there for them. So I do see that, but to me the alternative is just so far fetched that I can't even begin to think about like how can I go into conservatism, or how I can join a party that I'm a minority in, and they don't even count a lot of these people in there. They don't even count us in. So for me, I mean, I respect what they're trying to do. In theory, I think it makes sense. I wish there was another party that kind of was a little bit more, I guess, not the word is not respectful, but just more attentive to people of color and found ways to help their issues, but I don't know if I can't say that Republicans are. That I won't be. Well, I just would never go back. I would never say that, but yeah, so my week was pretty cool. I've just been really, really busy with work. I did some traveling. I came back from Virginia for the Some Things in the Water festival, and that was fun. And what
a lot of good things about that festival.
I was yesterday. I was in the YouTube office in New York. They have a YouTube space, which is really cool. So once we get 10K followers, we can go to the YouTube space.
Really? I try to go to YouTube space. They won't let me up in there.
Well, you can with this podcast, you'll be able to.
Why? Because of your
I've been under review for monetization for 10 months now. They won't pass me through the review stage, so they're not getting $1 from YouTube.
I mean, I don't know who to. I don't know. That's something we have to talk offline. See if there's any way we can figure that out.
Conspiracy theories of it.
You guys know how I do. I honestly think it's
it sucks though, because he does have a lot of following.
Content. Because Silicon Valley is where all the good stuff, Google and all that stuff is, and that's in Washington State, and that is very liberal. And I think when they see conservative in New York, they're like, "What the heck?" Then they see he's black. And he's walking through BedStuy talking about Trump. Heck no. So I think that's
could be it. But yeah, well, our podcast, because this is important to us. We want you guys to thank you for listening to us and continue to listen to us. Our goal is to engage, people of color. It's for you to listen, and you don't have to be politically savvy to listen to us, right? We're not, the most political, people ourselves, but we do have a passion for our community, and we want to enlighten you on what you should be paying attention to. And as you see that there's different views here, we're not all a monolith, like all subscribing to the same thing. We all disagree all the time.
Yes.
But we do it politely, and we all hear each other out, and we want you to hear each of us out as well, so that you can make your decisions when it comes time to vote. It's very, very important, and we hope to be as entertaining while we do it, and and we hope you enjoy us.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the key is we're just trying to show people, hey, if you have a family member who's a Trump supporter, or don't. Or if majority conservative household, you got a Hillary Clinton Democrat family member. It's like don't cast them off. Don't just throw them to the side and say, "Oh no, you're a sellout" or whatever it may be. Just we're showing you can have a conversation, not cuss each other out and yell and scream, and go the next day and sit down and have dinner at the table and keep it moving, man.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be so aggressive and negative to each other.
I agree.
Same here. So today's going to be a little different. We're going to talk about JayZ, which is interesting. We don't Jigga Man. So we don't usually talk about
pop culture.
No, we try not to, because I think you have a lot of podcasts that talk about.
Plus, they're saturated with it all day long on social media.
So much so. But we couldn't help ourselves with this particular topic because we thought it was cool. JayZ recently he actually reopened Webster Hall here in New York City. And he rapped like a freestyle, which went viral. And what was so interesting about it was that he talked a lot about like the community, it was really kind of a tribute to like Nipsey Hussle, but there were some things there that I felt like we needed to like decode, so I wanted to talk to you guys about it. I'm going to rap it for you, because we can't play it.
Oh,
wait a second.
Wait, but I'm not gonna rap like I'm not JayZ. Right?
Top of the head.
Come on.
No, I'm reading it. So, all right. So this is the first topic, and it's on gentrification. So here's what he said: gentrify your own hood before these people do it. Claim eminent domain and have your people move in. That's a small glimpse into the Nipsey Hussle was doing. For anybody that's still confused as to what he was doing, the neighborhood is designed to keep us trapped. They redline us so property declines if you live with blacks. They depress the assets and take the property back. It's a ruthless but genius plan, in fact. Poetic justice. All right. Now that is some Shakespeare. So can we decode that? Because honestly, you guys have, I know you guys have some kind of idea as to gentrification in the community.
Course.
I think
I grew up in Park Slope.
Okay. Oh, did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I want to hear yours because I definitely want to hear your experience.
I was born in Staten Island, but when we were about 3, I think I was at 3, we moved to Park Slope. When I tell people now, today, I grew up in Park Slope, they're like, ooh. I said, no, child. 25 years ago, Park Slope.
Oh.
When it was not even considered a good...
what did it look like?
It was kind of considered the hood. You know, when you were right next to Red Hook, I lived on 13th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue. Every color of the rainbow was on my block. I remember every ethnicity you could imagine were the kids I was playing with. Asians, Hispanic, Arabic kids. That's what I grew up with. And I knew gentrification was happening because my Nana had an Italian restaurant. My Nana's partner, had an Italian restaurant. And I noticed she was one of the last restaurants to be able to withstand. Wow. Every other one was wiped out pretty much and replaced with those kind of hipster bars. And I could see something was happening with my neighborhood. But 6 years ago, when I left my husband and I came back from Bermuda to New York, my initial response was, I'm going to go back to my old neighborhood, of course.
Of course, right?
I'm going to go back, move back in with my hood that I grew up in. And I remember vividly going into like a real estate agent's office and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm a mother with 2 kids. I need a 3-bedroom. He's like, okay, well, 1 bedroom start at $2,800. I said, what? In Park Slope, 1 bedroom's written. And I was just like,
wow.
And
imagine if you kept that apartment.
I don't even recognize my neighborhood's entire buildings have been restructured. You've got Starbucks, you've got Whole Foods. I see a lot of white people. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I actually get very visibly upset. But I also understand like the economics. This is a very complicated topic. And, me, I know the economics of things. So I'm thinking about it on both ends. However, if you owned land or... bought a home, that would be a good thing for you.
Oh yeah.
My Nana's partner bought a brownstone in 1970 for $30,000.
Oh my God! Whoa. What is it worth now?
Well, she had 2 of them. One they still live in. They've been there for like 40 years. But the one she sold was $1.6 million.
Woo!
So
man, that's an investment.
But I'm saying,
there you go. Gentrification
had a bunch of black and brown people.
Well, that's what he's talking about.
But I'm saying it's too late now. But they weren't in the position. They didn't have the resources, the money, whatever.
Well, she did. Nana did. Nana did.
Nana's white, by the way.
Oh,
yeah. My mother grew up in foster care. Like she's not my biological grandmother, but she raised my mother, so I call her Nana. She's not a person of color. But I'm saying, had that been the situation, this would be a great thing for people of color. But that's not.
That's what he's saying.
Exactly. But how do we do? I get what he's saying, but how do black and brown people do that now? Go to Atlanta? Because you can't do that in New York City. Where are you buying property?
Yeah, Atlanta's you're probably your best bet.
But I'm just saying, personally, I've witnessed my own childhood neighborhood totally transform, absolutely, completely, 100%.
I'm
Park
sure.
Slope is different all the way around.
Yeah, I believe it. I moved. Anybody knows I'm not from New York. I grew up in Maryland, near Baltimore, which is that's a different story right there. But I moved here about 6 years ago now. And when I moved here, my sister was here before me. She was here about 7 or 8 years now. And she told me she moved to BedStuy when she moved here. And I was like, what the heck are you doing? Are you crazy? Like, because, what I knew about BedStuy at that time was from rap, because I listened to a lot of New York hip hop growing up. So Jay, was from Marcy, Murder Marcy, they called it back then. Biggie was from BedStuy. And so I was like, I came out to visit her before. I was moving down to Florida before that. So before I moved, I came to New York, make sure, where the heck are you living? Are you all right? And when I moved to her neighborhood, the first thing I saw was like a, not to be, skin color, but just being honest, it was like a college-age white female walking like a little white fluffy dog down the street, like 10 p.m. And I was like, okay, this obviously is the same neighborhood that Jay and Biggie were talking about when they were rapping. Right. So I kind of felt a little more not comfortable, like, okay, now she's safe, no black people around. But, it's just, I'm just glad it wasn't the Murder Marcy type of area that it used to be. So I ended up moving here about 5 years ago. When I moved here, for the 5 years I've been here, I saw a change. So when I moved here, the hipster bars were, they were there already. They were starting to grow. But from even when I just moved there, it was still, they had block parties. They would, be out 2:00 in the morning having a good time. You still, from time to time you see a fight every now and then on the streets. And, so certain things were still like, we still the hood out here. But from that time to now, 5 years, it's like you don't even have block parties anymore. So it's like
you don't have block parties anymore.
Yeah, man.
They have block parties.
Actually, I went to one last year. That's not true. They have them.
They still have them. There's some around. They still, but in my neighborhood, it used to be like block after block after block after block.
Well, that to me, I feel like gentrification affected community relations. Because like when I was growing up in my block, everybody was like, it was a family. Yeah. Now it's not. And it also, because there's a disconnection, because you've got your neighbors from Oregon and she grew up in Colorado. Right. There is no, like, nobody is from Brooklyn anymore in that. So what do they have, in common? Really? Yeah, it's just like they're all living their own individual lives, and so it's affecting community relations completely.
I totally agree with that. Like my building was a Section 8 building before we moved. My sister moved in there, and they had one resident that was from the older neighbor from that building before the gentrification, and the landlord got it kicked out like about a year after I moved in. Like, get out of here, We need somebody paying $900, $1,800 a month to live here. So and then like. From like I said, 5 years ago to now, like it's all new neighbors, all from different parts of the country. Nobody talks to each other, and there's no communication. It's just like maybe a hello from time to time, and it just feels stiff and empty. And I moved out about 5-6 months ago to the Flatbush area, like I was mentioning earlier, and my sister's telling me like, oh my gosh, it's just so boring where I live now. There's nothing going on. Like it's even worse. And I'm like, man, like I'm not even from New York, and I tell people all the time, like I talk to New Yorkers, I'm like, man, this ain't New York anymore. They're like, yeah, I know, right, man? What part of the way? Where'd you grow up? And I'm like, I ain't even from. I've been here for 5 years. Like, man, you ain't even from New York. And I'm like, but I can tell, man.
Like the New York accent doesn't even like exist.
No, New York is definitely, it's big business now. New York is. I grew up in Upper West Side, so I didn't have I lived it was gentrified before I was born, right? Because when I don't know if any of you watch Mad Men, but Mad Men, no one watches it.
Yeah, no, good show.
But it's a really good show. I mean, if you feel like watching it, it's really long. But they basically talked about like that kind of gentrification at the time. It's based in the 60s, and it based in New York. It's an advertising agency, and like what goes on in 1960s, and there's like a couple women that are in there that are trying to be empowered, but you can tell 1960s ad agency, not happening. It's very different. But one of the women lived on the Upper West Side. She lived I think on 72nd Street, but this was in the 60s, and as time progressed, she moved, I think she moved there, and it was like hell, right? So from 59th Street and up, it was like hell. You couldn't go that far. And Harlem, let's face it, no one was even. That was where the black people lived, So as time went on, in the 80s, a lot of people started to move to the Upper West Side. My dad moved up there first, and he found this apartment building that literally is now it's a metropolis, because everybody wants to live here in that area. It's a very residential place. If people want to live with families, there's a lot of young families that live there. But it's in the building, there used to be a lot of Black and Spanish people, a mixture, a good mix. When I grew up, there was I had, someone that I had a redhead that was next door, I had a Jewish person that was across, then I had a Black person down the hall, but it was mixed. Now, it's totally just white people, Jewish people, Wow. So that's a different type of. I mean, I wouldn't consider that gentrification, because it's always kind of been happening. But now it's just I couldn't want to. If I wanted to live there now, it's the apartments are $3,000, $4,000. It's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's next. I mean, it's you're right next to Central Park, so they tried to like hit you over the head. But I do want to talk about. I like that we all have some sort of experience with gentrification. But I want to know how could you kind of asked this question? How can we take back our communities? Because this is the problem. Like, you have these people of color black people, right, who live in the Bronx or live in Harlem, and they've lived here, their parents lived here, and they don't own anything, but they treat it like they own it. Like, this is my block, like, get off my block. Like, it's standing in front of their block, but they don't own it, And there's, like, what can they do? Like, what can we do to gentrify it ourselves before they open up? Like, I remember they were opening up beer gardens in Harlem, and I felt so bad for the Harlem community because I remember, like the people from Harlem would look like I was sitting in the beer garden drinking, having fun with my friends, and I see them looking inside but not feeling like they can go in.
Right.
Wow.
Is that weird?
Yeah,
and it's their community.
Right.
I mean, that's how they feel. So they end up going to like Mama's Chicken and going. They don't experience what they have around or the restaurants that they feel comfortable going into, but they won't go into like the new. Oh, there's a new beer garden, or there's a new restaurant, Italian restaurant. They won't go into that. And Harlem has a lot of restaurants now, but it's like they feel like you have a downtown crowd that comes. You have people coming in like, oh, I saw it online. I'm going to go try it out. So what happens to them? Because it's not even just about buying stuff. They can't even entertain patrons, the places that are new to their area. They just basically feel like aliens in their own home.
Yeah, I honestly think, because I was on the subject with a gentleman the other day, and we really got deep into the conversation. I think what the black community needs to do more than anything right now is build a sense of community, man. Like, if you look at blacks in like the 20s and the 30s, at that time, a lot going on in America, obviously, and we just, not less than a century earlier, got out of slavery and all that good stuff. But what blacks did so well back then was a sense of community, a sense of family. The father was in the household, more conservative back then. I don't say nothing, but and we talked amongst each other. We know, like, what I see Jewish community, I work for a Jewish company, so what I see the Jewish community doing, I have had white friends growing up going to the house, is what they talk about a lot is they talk about investing and money, and like their conversations at the dinner table, it's like what to do with your money, and other than spending it. And it's like, and what we do is like, hey, I got the new Jordans, the 13 Space Jam joints. And I'm like, come on, man. And it's like, we need to get back to that sense of community, that sense of family, and talking amongst each other, another Black Wall Street kind of thing. And the only place I've seen that I've lived in Florida, Georgia, Maryland, New York, been all over the East Coast, is Atlanta has that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I think that I think what you said is 100% true. I had this conversation with my business partner, and he's from the Bronx. I want him to come on the show. Jason, if you're listening, you got to come on the show. But I told we had this long conversation, and he is a Black American, early 30s. Grew up in the Bronx, a lot of, and I'll let him, I'm not going to say all of his business because I'll let him say his business. But one of the things he said is, his family had a lot of troubles, in the community. And, he says before he was 10 years old, he's seen so much before he was 10. He had to go through so much obstacles, from the drugs in the building where you're going outside to just go play or go downstairs, from your dad leaving, or your mom having problems with her job and no food or whatever the case is. And that's not and then get to school and you're not being educated properly. Like, the schools aren't, like, we have to understand that there's not an even playing field here. So when we say, like, gentrification, the only thing that it helps is maybe it helps the schools, system, because then now,
well, it helps everything, business, crime rate. Right. So I'm gonna try to not make my response too economic heavy for the viewer, but the actual model in sense of like gentrification, a lot of people think of this racist thing that happens and it affects black and brown people. In itself, it's not meant to be. Because really all it is you're enhancing and investing in a neighborhood. And by doing so, rents go up. So lower income or people who have less money cannot no longer afford it. It's not meant to intentionally be against black and brown people, but unfortunately it just...
Are you sure?
Well, yeah, because what
it's
I'm saying...
meant to.
No,
it
what I'm
seems
saying,
like it
no,
was.
what I'm saying is if
With
you
the redlining?
you could do the same thing in the Midwest, in the low income low income neighborhoods will be 100% white. But nobody wants to be in the Midwest. They want to be in the coastlines. They want to be in the big cities where the most of the low income people are going to be black and brown. You could do the same thing in the Midwest, and it would affect the white people, the poor white people, the same way.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to get out about gentrification. But it has disproportionately in urban areas affected black and brown people. But what people... I actually asked the public advocate we were talking about that I stood up and asked her this question.
Okay.
Because they always talk about our elected officials say we're gonna deal with rent and higher rents, and I said how? Because to me I said to her specifically, you have a conflict of interest here. It is in your best interest to have neighborhoods gentrify because crime goes down. Your businesses like Starbucks and Whole Foods are now going to be there, and you're going to get tax money for the city because now that neighborhood is more profitable. It is in the city's best interest. So
what about the people?
Right. That's what I'm saying. You're telling people that you're going to fight rents, high rents, but really it's in your best interest to not do that.
Right.
So there is this really complicated...
Well, that's why they do like the 80-20 like buildings where they allow like certain people to like the lotteries and stuff.
Yeah,
like they allow you to get, you know, for some people that get chosen to live in these.
But the problem with like low income neighborhoods, you know, you need resources, you need, you know, safety, you need all this kind of stuff. But how, if the neighborhood is not profitable, how would you get that? So it's this dilemma that you're in with like, how do we take our neighborhood back with what? If everyone's still making a very low income, you're not going to be going to that business and spending money. So how do we reinvest in the neighborhood? Like, I get your point about community, but if we are not making more money, how can we invest in our own community?
Well, we are making money. I mean, you can start, I would say, and this is going to sound really outlandish, but the drug dealers have money. Like, I'm not even being funny, but like if we're talking about inner city, hood areas, if we're talking about like Crown Heights or BedStuy or like the Bronx, like some of these drug dealers, like, why don't you stop doing that? Pool your money, you know, say, you know what, this is it. No, you can invest in real estate, change your life before you go to jail. You know what I mean? Because the next step for you is never going to be like paradise.
But unfortunately, there's money laundering laws, and that's why a lot of them have their money in their mattress because they can't go to a bank and
they can invest in stores. They can invest in like opening up and like I'm just saying it's illegal. Obviously, what I'm saying is illegal, but I'm just saying
the government can seize their money if they feel it's been laundered.
Right.
It's against
the
law.
But I do say what I'm saying. I mean, listen, what I'm saying is not different from what people have done back in the day. It's just when
JayZ
black people do.
All the time. JayZ talks about when he talks to the youth that are because in drug dealing now, he knows they're out there. He's saying you need to invest your money now.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he invested in Dumbo.
Okay, besides that, or what else?
Exactly, and he found a way. What I'm saying is like, find a way. Anything under 10,000, you can put in the bank. Put $9,000 in. Get another person has 9,000. You have enough money to put a down payment on something. Start now. Start using your resources is what we're saying, because what JayZ's telling you to do is buy back your block. Now Manhattan is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Bronx, you might have a chance. Bronx is the next territory to be taken over. They're like rezoning stuff. They're like opening. I don't know if you guys see on like the Hudson River. They're like building all these nice buildings, high-rise buildings. Like soon, it's going to be immaculate. They're bringing a lot of stores. Please buy these places before they come take you out. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, that was mine. So that was our top.
But if they buy their neighborhood, you buy property with the intent to gain wealth, right? Like you want it to one day sell it and make more money.
Of course.
But so if they all just buy into their neighborhood, how does it elevate and make the value of their property go up? What makes the neighborhood more valuable to make it worth it?
Well, so what I'm saying
for them to buy,
but in the Bronx, like I said, they're bringing businesses into your community. So in your area, they're bringing businesses. So obviously, they're trying to attract a different audience.
But the reason, and this
people can't afford to live in Manhattan or Brooklyn, so they have to go somewhere else. And the Bronx is probably the next spot.
So I was actually reading on this, and this is where it becomes unfair because it's not an even playing field when it comes to developers, right? Mm-hmm. So it's actually extremely expensive for zoning fees, registration, lawyers, all that kind of stuff. But a big developer is worth it to them because I'm going to just build this gigantic building and I'm going to get my worth in rents when the Whole Foods comes in, downstairs, and I don't care about the turnover in the neighborhood of the black and brown people. That doesn't matter to me. In the end, this is profits. Mm-hmm. But somebody who doesn't have those kind of resources at a huge multi-billion-dollar company, how do they compete with these large development companies? Right. They can't.
Well, so you start small because let me tell you something. There are different there's different grants. There's if you're into construction and you might take some certifications and become a project manager. And you pull again. It's just pulling it's really about pulling your resource. It's following what Chris said. Community. Mm-hmm. If a bunch of guys that listen, we all do construction. You'll be the project manager. You're the engineer. You're the civil, and you pull.
A lot of Hispanics are doing that right now as we speak.
Always, everybody else, but I hate to say it, but we kind of last in line. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I don't know why, because we can do it because of
the sensitive community. We're not together anymore.
Well, that's okay.
In the 30s and the 40s, we were.
Can we talk about our next topic? Because that you just brought me into the next one. Okay, so the next lyric that I wanted to rap is he talks about crabs in a barrel. So
I like that part.
Yeah. Okay, so now we fighting over scraps, crabs in a barrel. But crabs don't belong in a barrel, and they ain't never tell us that. So in the barrel, we gonna act like we act. We can easily get out the barrel if we stand on each other's back. Whoever gets on top, as long as they stay attached, they gonna pull everybody out. I was doing just that. Cool, huh? Mm-hmm. You get it?
Yeah, I was just trying to think about what he did.
He's helping people.
Well, I don't know. I'm not saying. I'm just thinking about it. Like, like thinking of examples that
how you can. So, crabs in the barrel theory. Are you familiar with the crabs in the barrel theory?
Oh yeah, a lot of rappers talk about the crabs in the barrel.
Do you want to enlighten us on what?
Please.
Because we wanted to.
Yeah, it's when you crabs. Everybody knows what crabs look like and all that good stuff. Right. But they're very aggressive creatures. Mm-hmm. But when you are, from Maryland, crabbing is very big. Shout to Maryland.
Oh, yeah. I got to go there for the summer.
Yeah, got a chicken neck in the cages and all that good stuff, So when you put crabs in a barrel, it kind of gets them in, when they're in there together and you just throw them in there, it kind of messes up their mentality in a way where they're not that aggressive and fighting anymore, because it does something, if I was a scientist, I can really break it down for you, but it does something to them when you put them all in there together. They kind of get a mentality of what's going on, it's dark, and it throws them off of their normal routine. And so they're easier to control, easier to do what you got to do with them. You got to take them somewhere and sell them or whatever it may be. You throw them all in the barrel, boom. Now they're not doing much. They're not fighting each other.
But they do pull each other down, though. There is a sense.
And they do pull each other down. So when other crabs are put in there and one has that, still like, what the heck, get me out of here. Mm-hmm. Other crabs will pull them down into the barrel. And then once they get to a certain point, they become like the other crabs and just stay stagnant.
Wow. Hello. So what did he say? So now we fighting over scraps. Crabs in a barrel. But crabs don't belong in a barrel, and they ain't never tell us that. So in a barrel, we gonna act like we act. Mm-hmm. We can easily get out the barrel if we stand on each other's back. Whoever gets on top, as long as they stay attached, they gonna pull everybody out. I was doing just that.
So one thing I can think of, people say, "Oh, we don't buy black enough." Okay. That's a good example of where we don't support each other.
Have you bought anything black recently?
No. Not that I can. I don't specifically. Small. It was little things, but like my friend's daughter's business or something, or a T-shirt brand on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I'm not making conscious decisions to find black owned like grocery store or like a black, you know what I'm not like, I'm just saying, I'm not thinking like, oh, I need this, like let me, because when we say black, like most of the stuff we need, we go to chains for. You need your stuff, you go to the pharmacy, you need to go. So when do I think I buy black?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I'm not a huge shopper. Like, I hate shopping, to be honest with you. Like, shopping for clothes, shoes, everything. Like, it's like, feels like it's a forced thing for me. So when I shop, it's like a necessity. Like, I need water, I need soap, I need, shampoo. So it's just, like you said, the Walgreens, the Rite Aids and all that good stuff. I go that for that stuff. Like, as a black man, what do I make that a conscious decision? Like, only thing I can think of is food. I'm thinking, like,
restaurants. We just did.
We did. We did just.
Hopefully, we don't know. I'm sure the owner. We didn't ask for the owner, but I'm sure the owner was.
We went to a Jamaican spot that was fire.
Yeah.
Jamaican food.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
So good.
Jerk chicken.
So yeah, jerk chicken. So I think the crabs in a barrel thing. Now, one thing that I thought was really interesting is so we act, when he said so we're gonna act like we act. So that was interesting, because the way I take it, I think about, like, people get so mad at black people for the violence, the drugs that we, that's sold in the community, the way the men talk to the women, the like
the baby mama, baby daddy drama,
everything that unfortunately is stereotyped, because we're not all black people act and live in those conditions. However, there are a very good majority of people who do. What we're saying, and I think what he's saying is, they're put in these positions, and this is what I mean. Like, when I was telling you about my partner, he grew up having to fend for himself. He had 13 brothers and sisters. Damn. Yeah. So when you think about that, it's like they've got troubles over. It's just so much stuff that they have to deal with before, and then go outside and be careful that no one's gonna like attack them or touch, or a weird man's gonna grab them. Like, it's just so much stuff that these people have to deal with on their own in their community. They're not safe. Yeah, they don't live in like a nice gated home. They don't have like TV that they can just change and watch it whatever they want, and they don't have computers. This is what a lot of people in these communities, these urban communities, have to deal with. And it's like, what do you say to them? How are they gonna like who's gonna help pull me up?
Right.
But you know what's weird?
I don't see anybody in this area.
I don't want to digress, but it's totally opposite in the Caribbean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yet,
West Indian blacks and Africans.
Some places in the Caribbean are very dangerous, like Jamaica, for example. This part. So it just dawned on me, like, it's the exact opposite. It's like village mentality. It's very community based in the Caribbean, and we're not thinking about, like, even though I'm living in a dangerous situation, I'm still not caring about my neighbor. Like, it's different out there. I don't want to bring it, like, I don't want to like it is.
No.
How is it different though? What do you mean? How is it different?
Because you're basically, what I think you're saying is that's why we don't have this sense of community, because everyone's kind of like one man for themselves. I've got to just survive and get through. And I'm saying it's opposite in the Caribbean, where there is this community feeling, yet some people are still dealing with the same scenarios. Is what I'm. It's just. I don't know if that's
lack
just
of resources,
American versus Caribbean culture, but I just thought about it. Anyway. You can go back to your thought.
There was an album that Nas and Damian Marley did a few years back called Distant Relatives, and they talked about a lot of this. And what I've noticed when I meet people from West Indians, being in New York, and when I was in Atlanta, there was a lot of Africans down there, and they own a lot of property down there, trust me. And what I noticed, I was doing cable for a company, Comcast, for 5 years, and when I would go through their homes, still be that instant of, they open the door, see me, to give me kind of like a side look, like, oh gosh, like, and I give them a side look back, like, oh gosh, you know what I mean? And it was just like a division. And then as time went by, when I was working on their services, we'll start talking, and they will get to the point where it's like they will talk about American blacks, and I'll talk about Africans, and they would say,
there's a whole dynamic going on there.
Oh yeah,
I got a podcast. We have a podcast that's gonna happen.
But you're just making me think, like, when I was in Haiti, there was people in dire situations, and they were still helping their neighbors. Like, it was crazy. Like, I'd witnessed it myself just like last week, or even like when I'm, so I don't know. I don't know if that's, I wonder if it's something deeper than that.
I had this argument. I said, why don't the people, I think we might have had this conversation, you and I and Ty, about, you're in the projects. It's really rough, but you clean up.
Yeah.
Maybe if the first floor, for this Thanksgiving, we're doing all the turkeys for the whole building.
Oh, wow.
Second floor, we're doing the mashed potato, all the sides. Third floor, we're doing whatever. And you put $10 whatever to do it, and then you make sure that everybody eats.
Yes.
So because people don't have money, so everybody is fed. You have it in the community center. Everyone can come get their food. This is pulling together. This is what it means to be a community.
Yes, and
let's okay. So the hallways suck. My kid has to go in the hallways and the staircase, and there's always
elevators.
Come clean, throw mop, Clorox, clean it. You do that. You do that. I guarantee you do that for a month straight. No one will ever pee in the elevator and the stairs.
Good
Once you see your area is clean, you automatically feel a little something like, I'm not gonna throw this on the floor.
Well, when you talk to hood dudes, man, they go in these. No, seriously, when they go to like the Manhattan areas and everything like that, they act like they have some sense, man, because they know they think I can't be out here peeing in this elevator, and they're gonna know I peed in the elevator, So that's what I think what the black community, this is what we do wrong in American blacks compared to West Indians and Africans, and they do it to an extent, but not as bad as America. We promote gang life too much here. It's like and that's why I get on JayZ, because JayZ's he's quick to say now that he's 40-40 Jay, and that bring each other up. And I'm like, Jay, I remember you from back in Blueprint days, man. I remember you from Volume 2 days. You were talking about shooting, selling drugs, selling coke, and you the biggest baller in New York, and da-da-da-da.
That was his way to get out, though. That's a way to get out for a young black man. Unfortunately, it's sad to say, but a young black man, the only thing that they see in the community of people that are doing well are the drug dealers. They don't see like, oh, there goes Mr. Miller, the lawyer. Like, they don't see Mr. Miller in their projects.
But is there some hypocrisy then if you're telling his message now?
Yes.
Yeah, but what? Someone's got to change at some point. We have to evolve as people.
But you know what it is?
How? He's not saying. He's just saying like you need to. He's not saying how.
Yeah, he's not saying how. He's just kind of saying this is what we need to do.
Because if he was in that dilemma, then the young black men are still in the same situation today. So how do they act any differently than what
look what he did? Okay, but what did he do? He got himself out of it
by doing what he just said.
Yeah, but doing music. Not every guy in the hood can rap. You know what I mean? And so it's like,
but we can manage talent.
He made but you know what? He's different because they're still, like it's just like athletes. They don't. A lot of them don't know how to manage money, and then they get injured and they're like on drugs or back in the projects. So I do want to give him some credit in the sense that when he finally got some money, he did different things with it. He made the right decisions and investments and got himself in the right spaces and ownership and all that stuff. So I want to give him that. He didn't just get, for lack, I don't use this term, but it starts with the N-word, rich. I don't, I'm just saying that's. I mean, I'm sure that's a thing.
I'm sure in the beginning he was like that. I'm sure he enjoyed himself.
So I'll give him that. But I feel like there's what's the actual solution?
And that's why it goes back to like, like I said, when I was growing up young, my dad was a military father. I was living in Germany for 5 years before I moved to Maryland. So I saw the Berlin Wall fall. So when we moved to the States in '91, and when we moved here, I was like the stiffest black dude near Baltimore. You know what I mean? Like they listen to me talk, and as soon as I start talking to them, you sound white. And now that because of Obama, and I'm not a huge Obama, voting for him twice, but we already been through that conversation. But one thing I'll give credit for Obama is when Obama became president, that was the first time when I talked, I was a black guy. And before that, I was white, all the way up to that. And when I went to the Young Black Leadership Summit in D.C., there was a lot of young black youth there. I'm talking 20 younger, man, sharp, well-spoken, carried themselves well, and they don't get no love in the black community. They can't go on TV.
But what was their upbringing?
And that's the thing. Like I gotta admit, I had a father and a mother in my house. I know I had a better upbringing. A lot of guys.
Did they have
Baltimore.
a more affluent upbringing than?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Well, you're affluent in the black community if you have both parents.
That's already that's all it is.
That already gives you affluence, because the problem that's and I'm not even saying it to be funny. That's like a real problem. Like you not having a lot of black men are being raised without having a black father, that hurts them. That put at least like the dad left.
Seriously,
that just hurts them. Like they've never seen their dad. They never knew that. They don't have no idea what conception how they got here.
Yeah,
right.
That already at least have a photo. You know what I mean? Let's start there.
Seriously,
because something happens. A parent dies. We understand. There's things that happen in life. Yeah. It's fine. But for you to be like your dad he just picked up his stuff and said, you know what? I can't live with your mom.
Or never was there in the first place.
Or never or just was not. Like, it's just...
Well, my dad, he worked in the largest juvenile detention center in Baltimore, Charles Hickey School. saying, I remember he'll take me to father and son days, because there was no father and daughter days. They didn't let girls up in there. So he was take me to father and son days there, and I'll walk around, meet the kids there, and these kids will walk up to me, and these, hood dudes, Baltimore. They're like, yo, what's up, man? I put my hand out to give them a handshake, and they give me like a 5 and flipping their hand around and all that. And I'm sitting there all like, oh, okay. and so they already knew, like, okay, he ain't from around here.
Yeah.
So, and I would watch them, because, I was worried about my dad seeing these young youth, tatted up, da-da-da. And when they would walk away, my dad would be like, how old do you think he is? I'm like, 17, 18 almost. He's like 12, 13. I'm
wow.
like, what? And after that, so I was like, worried, being a son, worried about my dad. Like, these guys disrespecting my dad. They're going to attack my dad. What's going on? And I would watch them when they would approach my father. And when they approached my dad, it was yes, sir, no, sir, yes, Mr. Right, no, Mr. Right,
model.
Full respect. And I'm like,
that's what we need.
And that's what
because just things are coming to me with the crate in the barrel thing. I guess like we need to support each other's businesses, but we already talked about that's a little bit difficult. But we also need to mentorship, role models,
like you're a black man, like. Hate to say it, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to say, let me go to the YMCA or whatever, the Boys and Girls Club, and speak to some of the guys and like, look guys, not everybody has to be acting this way. Some people can speak this way. Some people can just,
and I could do the same. I mean, because
seriously,
one of the things
for women too, for girls,
and in particular, even though teen pregnancy is at like all-time lows.
Thankful.
Oh, thank God.
It is.
Thank God for
I
that.
still feel that I could help for teen women that are still out there. That you don't have to be a statistic. I wasn't a statistic, and here's the ways we cannot have you in perpetual states of poverty and increased cycles of teen pregnancy and all that kind of stuff.
I also think I think you would be very helpful in the community as a resource for how financial literacy. Like I don't know. Like, okay, I have a bank, I have an ATM card, but what else? What else? That's the level of finance that I know. You know what I mean?
Same
so there's so many things. There's like, does everybody know what Robinhood app is?
Yes.
Do you know about
I'm investing in that.
But like a lot of
Jewish guy taught me that, by the way.
Okay, yeah. So like I just made $20 on Beyond.
But
Beyond
this is my argument about education, though. We're gonna go back to because I think a lot of this stuff, like I know it's putting more on the teachers, but I really believe things from like personal finance and mental health should be baked into the curriculum, and that's how you can really. It is, and
but I think it's not. We've said that.
I know, but I'm just saying that's how you can. This is like one of my biggest arguments about inequalities and addressing them is doing it targeting the children. That is where you can get this inequality to not happen anymore. And they're all equally at school, are they not? I mean, you have private schools and all that, but for the most part you've got K through 12, an opportunity from K to 12 to try to level the playing field. And you do that through education. So yes, I think we should do what we can to reach out in our communities, but I do think it's incumbent, and we are a political podcast, on our elected officials to figure out where this can infiltrate into the community. And luckily, people are starting to see people of color in office, and that's important because who else is going to know me and what I need more than someone who looks like me and's been through it? So we got to get more of us in office, and that helps. But I think
that's important.
But we can't do what is going on in Haiti either. We can't do we're in office because I tell people,
that will never happen in America.
It happens now. Corruption? Are you saying there's corruption all the time? I mean, not to the level, but
look at Baltimore. Baltimore is not cussing, but poop hole, to put it that way. It is disgusting. And it's ran by black Democrats. They got a black female mayor there. They got black, governors. They got black senator. Everything you can think of, it's ran by pretty much black people.
Are they pocketing money personally?
Oh, yeah. The mayor's going, she's under an investigation right now for laundering money.
Yeah. There's some, but that's just that particular. I mean, Baltimore, like Chicago, like there's some places,
we have so
DC,
many,
like there's some places where it's like a lot heavily black communities. What they do is they let you run the company, and what they do is they let it fall apart. Like they're not getting the finances they need. They're not getting the like it's bigger than just like it's a poop hole. It's a poop hole for a reason because it's a heavily.
But we
black.
do have checks and balances here, and let me tell you, we have rights. Yep, when I was in Haiti, they were just pulling us over for they're just cops just standing in the street pulling cars over. And you just. No warrant, nothing, no reason, just pulling over. That would be ridiculous out here. You'd have to have at least some. I know black and brown people go through this, but I'm just saying, like, they have full authority to do whatever they can, like, get, what's the word, blackmail, and like there's just crazy things happening.
That's crazy.
You just can't do that out here. So
crazy, but
at least not as easily.
But I definitely agree with you guys. Like mentoring, I think is one thing,
mentor's the key.
And definitely getting our politicians to like figure out ways to step in, especially in our community, or giving us resources. We talk about mental health is another one. We always feel like for Black community, we think mental health is important to talk about because we don't have enough resources for people who are suffering from anxiety, trauma, PTSD. That's everything that's happening in these communities.
I was thinking about this gentrification problem. That's been on my mind for so long, and I don't know how to address it because, like I said, in some instances, gentrification is helpful for the city, but it disproportionately affects Black and brown people. And I was trying to think of like what kind of policies can be put in place. They have that 80-20 thing, but I feel like that's kind of like, how is it helpful to keep low income people like in the building if where they go grocery shopping downstairs they can't afford it? So it's almost like they're just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, and it's a luck of the draw too.
And also,
I met one person
in gentrified neighborhoods, most of the staff at the like hipster bars are all white, so they're not even hiring like people of color either. So there's so many opportunities there, but it's such a complicated thing. Like, do you make them have to hire, residents who live there? But I was also thinking about this idea of like a community investment pool as well, fund of some sort.
There was one this man did, but I heard it was really corrupt. He's on Instagram.
But I was thinking that could be helpful for people. Whatever, just some thoughts, but
we've got a lot of work to do, and hopefully we'll soon get some of these solutions. But I think with like just the fact that people are just so much more aware, like just that we have this podcast and we're talking about these issues. I think a lot of this stuff is like in 20-30 years it's going to be a lot different. I pray, I hope. And
social media is helping a lot too. A lot of these young guys that I met at YBLS, a couple of them told me they're getting started because of what they saw me, and then they met me and they're like, "Now you gave me the courage to do this." And I see them getting out there and doing it, man. And they're social media internet era, so they got followers already. And now they're like Chandler Crump, shout to Chandler and Mikkel Crump, both of them brothers. One's 19, his little brother's probably 11 years old now. And these guys know politics, and they're on Twitter and on YouTube. And I mean, Chandler got more subscribers than I do now. And it's like, and they're growing fast. And people, because blacks, and a lot of times you see the comment section, these are a lot of blacks or even white people, it doesn't matter, are seeing this youth and like, wow, I didn't even know Black youth like this existed. And it's like, I mean, that's the whole thing with the whole gang culture we're so stuck in. It's like, it should be a young Black educated man starts, he should be on TV right next to JayZ or Nipsey Hussle or anybody else.
Yeah.
Like,
I was the conversation I had with my business partner, it all started because we were talking about Uber. We're talking about the I don't know why, I don't know what made me look up the executives at Uber. And I was like, oh, okay, one of them is Indian. Okay, cool. Then I saw and I saw, oh, wow, who's this Black man? He's the head of legal affairs, which I thought was so powerful. Like the head of legal for Uber is a Black man. Then I looked up then I got intrigued by him. I looked him up more further. His wife is Black, a beautiful Black woman. And I just said, wow, look how powerful. I said, this is like JayZ and Beyonce. And I said, this is what we should be looking up to,
Exactly.
Not saying we shouldn't look up to JayZ and Beyonce, because Lord, I love JayZ and Beyonce.
Same.
I don't look up to them in the sense of the way I aspire. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them. I love they're very, very talented. It's just, I'm very thankful that we have people to look at and say, look at, this is the upper echelon of talent. But I feel like more people should look up to those people, the Michelle Obamas and the
I think it's
Baracks.
Maybe happening.
I hope so, because what I'm saying is, and this is what I said to him. I said, it's easier to be this gentleman, this lawyer, than it is to be Beyonce and JayZ. It's so much more easier.
Oh yeah.
There's not that many JayZ, Beyonces, not that many LeBrons, but there's a lot of attorneys. And then he went into it.
It's easier to try to be JayZ than to be the other one, which is going to college and getting a law degree.
That's what he said. Using your own talent is different. Black people have innate talent. Because everyone thinks I'm gonna
get the come up. I'm the one who got the rhymes. Like, it's so much easier to sit there with your book and make a rap and like record it.
It is.
Than to try to get into law school or something like that.
But that was the thing. It's like, well, but he said, like, he's like, people don't even know how to read when they're like 10th grade and don't know how to read. Oh, like that's what some of his classmates didn't know how to read, because they just kept getting pushed up, whatever, keep going, somebody else's problem. You're somebody else's problem. Just get out of here, And then what happens to these kids? And then you're telling me that I could be a lawyer? Get out of here. I don't even know how to read. Right.
Right.
So it's like,
Education.
All right, next topic, guys. The next topic, probably our last one because we kind of went a little bit over. The next topic is it's called wife versus garden tool.
Interesting.
I think we can say that word.
Yeah, we can say hoe. I wanted to be cool, but I didn't want to be like that, but whatever. Okay, so this is what he said. We was chasing our goals, not chasing money. Niggas chasing hoes, we find that funny. Oops, I said that.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I pull up in the roles that hoe gonna want me, but I don't want no hoe. I want a wife. Somebody to bounce these ideas off at night.
Sorry, I'm triggered.
Is this the guy?
Totally cheated on Beyonce.
This is the same guy that said Big Pimpin' a few years back, right?
I know.
The one who cheated on his wife, that she made a whole album about it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Sorry,
that.
that's creative.
That's why I like side eye. By the way, I think we.
But let's just talk about the lyric, guys.
I'm just saying.
I know you
It's
guys
just
want to give us the real.
Right.
What do you think about the lyric? Again, JayZ tells people to we're only wearing Yankee hats, and everyone did it. And then we're like, okay, JayZ said change clothes, wear a button-up shirt, and then everyone did it.
That's the auto-tune, and then no more T-Pain.
He does have influence. You're right.
He does have.
Yeah.
So maybe these things that he's saying might change because people were like quoting it left and right, and I kept seeing someone quoted like I want a wife to to bounce ideas off at night. And I was like, really? Now these guys, what? Now you want a wife?
Yeah. I think for one, blacks should be able to do this without JayZ telling them. We should just come on, man. Like a
you say that, but think about the Bronx person that doesn't have anybody to tell them this. Who is telling them that? They don't even know. They never seen their dad.
I'm gonna do a little Nas lyric here because I'm a Nas guy, not a Jay guy, and he says, look at the white community. They got no leaders leading them. And it's like, that's what we got to start doing. We don't need a black leader. We just need community. And our leaders should be our fathers and our uncles and stuff like that. That should be the ones telling you, hey, man, don't freaking mess with these hoes out here. And, but I mean, and that's because I had a father that did that with me. If I would have brought a Instagram thought home, my mom and my dad would have they would have been respectful. But as soon as she turned her head, like, get this creature out of his house, so I knew. So even when I got older, so when I met girls, because I'm not a ugly guy, and I'll meet females who sometimes were on the hoish side, and for one, I'm not attracted to that because I'm more of a mental stimulation, sapiosexual, I like to call them, for one, and they're not really mentally stimulating. They're just hey, look at me twerk, and I'm like, okay, well, she got other than that, that's not going to last when you're 80, and so we need to talk amongst each other and stop promoting, like I said, promoting this gang mentality, man, because the gang mentality, when you put it with a guy, you're out there in the streets drug dealing, shooting guns. When you're a female, you're twerking on Instagram for views, and and so if we stop promoting this kind of lifestyle, and we give young blacks an option, like, hey, man, if you're well spoken, if you can read very well, if you can, you got these qualities that you're kind of like keeping hidden because they're not cool, let them go, let them out there, let people see them, man, because now it's acceptable. We want this, we need more of this, and I think that would help. We kind of increase that whole mentality. So
I have two main thoughts. One, he can tell people to want a wife instead of a hoe, but to me, we're still back in that. The problem era where relationships just do not flourish, and we're not focused on trying to deal with the relationships. How do you maintain a relationship with a wife? Communication, all these, you're not that stuff. You can't just tell someone want a wife, but no one is baking that into anything that people are being raised to learn how to do. So that's a problem to me. And then the over sexualization of women's bodies on social media, again, this is nice and all, and it's gone viral, but then a week from now, everyone's gonna forget it, and we're back to seeing the twerking and the asses and everything.
City girls.
Yeah, but the one thing that is kind of promising, if you actually start in the blogs, if you look at the comments and stuff, people are starting to get tired of it. They're like, I'm sick of seeing the same Instagram thought, they call them. It's getting played out a bit, which is kind of a little bit,
I mean, you need some. I
think the whole thing, unless people just want to do it behind closed doors, but outwardly, people are kind of over it. But I still think that the dating world is not getting any better. I don't see where these people getting their wives.
Yeah, and to build on that a little bit, you're going a little personal life here. I'm 35, no kids, and it's, I had opportunities. I met women, and this is what confused me about the black community, and with black women specifically, obviously, is like when I went to HQ here in Manhattan, they were playing some Cardi B song, and every Cardi B song is about being a thought. And so when they were playing this song, I was looking around, and I saw women. You can tell that from the hood, and they were rapping the lyrics. And then I saw women that looked like they could have been lawyers or doctors and high positions rapping the same lyrics. And when I would growing up talking with black women, I would talk with them, and I would talk to the educated black woman, and I'll talk to the girl from the hood. But they both had that same. When they meet me, they're like, "Oh, you lame." And then a guy from the hood would come by with his, butt hanging out and, yo, what up, shawty, da-da-da. And he'll pull the lawyer just as quick as he pulled the girl in the corner. That's standing there. So I'm like, yo, this dude gets...
that's a real fact.
Yeah.
He just said something there. Yeah. That is a problem. I don't know what it is with black women or Spanish women or just women in general, white women. We sometimes want the bad boy. Women in general, sometimes we want that boy that is not a man.
Man baby.
The man baby we like to nurture, and I'm gonna help him out, and he just has a little bit of problems. And then we're like, oh my god, our new project, and he's eating you out of house and home. He's threatening to kill you. It's like a whole
chilling the couch, smoking blunts all day.
Yeah, he becomes like a nuisance. But I do feel like I always felt like women just want security. I feel like women look for two things in a relationship. I think they want security. They want a man that they feel secure around, that they know can protect them and stuff. And they want to feel another form of security, which is you can take care of the bills. You can take care of. So there's women that...
I'd reject that a bit.
Oh, I do think that. I think that's a form of security.
You don't think that this new wave of feminism and women empowerment also makes it difficult to have this relationship?
Because women are now making
independent
money.
and
but I don't think you don't think that
intimidating for a man to
probably
be wifing her, and she don't need him.
It probably is, but don't you still want a man that has gets an income? Isn't that
of course
you still want him to be able to afford things,
pay the bills,
contribute. Sorry, pay the bills probably the way is probably not the right term, but definitely contributor. Someone that can I want to go on a vacation. I don't want to have to be damn, I have to pay for him. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to be able to hey, we're going on. I'd like to go to Paris. Can we? Oh sure, let's go to Paris. It shouldn't be a struggle. You know what I mean?
I felt like JayZ. I don't know. Like I said, I think marriage is a problem in today's society. So I don't know about his terminology, but I think really what he's trying to say is this move maybe to women that respect themselves, that are independent thinking, that are productive citizens of society. To me, maybe that's what he kind of meant.
He's just
because you could be a wife and still
No, but you know what it is?
You can still be a wife and not respect yourself.
True. Well,
so what was his
good point?
What was his point?
No, I think he means that stop looking for the hoes, the girls that are out, the Instagrams. Stop looking for the Instagram girls, because you do realize that there's been a shift with women. There was a time when the good girl was always everybody wanted the good girl on all the the Gabrielle Unions and on the when you watch now there's I hate to say it, but the number one person that people talk about is Cardi.
I don't think men really want
Cardi
that.
Talks in power, really even though she's a wife. She's a wife. Cardi's a wife.
Kind of.
She's a wife. She is a wife.
But do men really want that, or they just is it just for sex?
I don't know.
I don't think they try to bag Instagram thoughts.
They do.
We're men. We're men because we're more in the physical attraction than women are, because it's built in our DNA.
Right.
And so with that said, like I said, there's been times I looked at Instagram, thought, and I'm like, whoa, dang, okay, what's up, And once she starts talking, I'm like, I'm turned off, good grief, never again. But I think the issue I'm having is for instance, I remember back to Comcast again. You learn a lot when you're a cable guy. It's kind of weird. But I went to a young lady's house one time, and she was living in a nice part of the Bankhead area, or Buckhead. I'm sorry, Bankhead is the hood. Buckhead.
Yeah.
We even change around. Let me get that clear. And I was knocking on the door, and she was no answer. And so I called her.
You opened the door and walked in.
Proceeded
to
what's up,
look around her house.
This is nice, So I called her up, and she was at work. She was a nurse, and when I called her, we talked. I'm like, oh, well, you're not here, so I guess maybe reschedule. And she said, oh, no. She's like, my boyfriend's there. Give me a second. She called, and then she called. called, and then finally she hung up with him, and I stood out there for about another 8 minutes, and somebody was supposedly here. Finally, dude comes with his shirt off, just chilling, tatted up. Yo, what's up, man? The box in the back, man. And he just walks off, passes out on the couch, reeks some weed in that place, and I'm like, yo, this is the dude she chose. Like,
how do you know what she was like? How do you know she was like a normal?
Because someone was paying the rent, and it obviously wasn't him.
Oh, a nice place.
Oh, the place was nice.
A very nice place. So I'm like, she was well off.
Yo, but it's also Atlanta. There's no men in Atlanta.
No, that's true. It's like a 10-to-1 ratio in Atlanta.
You will find whatever. Are you straight? Okay, I'll take you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And there's a lot of ones who are straight who are in the undercover brother stuff, too.
Wait, there's physically not men? Or there's
10-to-1. It's like 10-to-1, 8-to-1 or 10-to-1.
There's men that wear heels in Atlanta. There's like men. It's a very open city. It's good for...
I know. I follow so many on Instagram.
Yeah, it's good if you're gay. It's perfect for you to be down there. But if you're a female, like, you ain't finding no man down there. Unfortunately, it's just you can't find it. And even before that, it just never was. There was never a good pool because unfortunately, I mean. And then the guys that are down there they're players, so it's hard to.
Yeah, and it just confused me when I see women in situations like that, because they, like I said, women like that are doing well for themselves. They want a project instead of a husband, and
that's
it's like,
true. I don't know how we fix that.
And I tell women all the time, like, well, all I need to do is fix this, fix that. I'm like, if you got to fix something, he's not a man. He should come to the table. I'm already complete male.
But what about the fact that there aren't that many black men that are like in their college?
The pool is small.
Like when I was in college, there were not. It was not that many black guys. Like the only black guys were on the college basketball team, and they were busy banging out the white girls in the swings.
Right?
Do you get what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I didn't have a pool. Like I can be like, oh my God, they weren't interested because they had a whole like list of girls. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just chill over here. And then what happens to a girl like me is you end up graduating and dating, like going back home, and this literally happened. I started dating people from the community, like back, and I was going backwards for a second, and then I was like, whoa, I don't want to do this. I graduated from college. I'm not going to go backwards.
Yeah,
I'm going to find someone that's like my equal, and I found someone, but I mean my boyfriend, my fiance he's not black. He's Dominican, but he went to he went to Columbia. You know what I mean? But I didn't like that happened by accident, because the other guys I was dating were just, I hate to say it, nobody went to college. They were still back home, and that's what happens to a lot of like.
I dropped out of college. I didn't graduate from college.
Yeah, but you're different. Okay, I mean, maybe the college thing isn't a great example because not everybody that goes to college is brilliant. But I have to say that black women, like they are doubling in numbers.
The highest graduating.
Graduating in all of the country.
They just for some reason we don't play. You know what I mean?
Well, black women can do well. Black women do better in the household with a mother only than a male does.
Right.
Because there's your role model right there, your mother,
and she's kicking her butt, and you feel bad for her. You see her. Yes, that's right. You see her kicking her butt, working so hard, and you're like, you know what, Mom? I'm gonna do good because I want to make sure that my mom is in a better place so I can take care of my mom. When I get out. But what I'm trying to say about like going backwards, because that did happen to me, and it happens to all of us. It happens to a lot of us black women. Is that we come back out of school, went to college, we didn't find anybody.
Unless you went to an HBCU.
Yeah, then it's different. Right. And I didn't go to HBCU. If I went to HBCU, then probably would have found someone that was just like me. But I didn't. I went to a majority, white school. So. I didn't find, and the white dudes weren't interested. They were like, it was like one or two that were like weird, and I was like, no thanks. You know what I mean? Like, so what happens to you? You end up going backwards and finding these guys. Now, if I was that girl and continued on, I probably would have had a guy that was like horrendous and acting crazy, and maybe like while I'm at work, I have the cable guy come in, he comes in, maybe that would have been my story. Right. But I was just like, no, I don't want that. I don't want. I want someone that I can talk to that's like gonna like change, like say stuff
you
that's
can
gonna
build with, man. Building
that I can exactly what he said.
I got this on my table. You got this on your table. Let's come together and put our tables together and make something great. Right. There should be nobody lifting nobody up. I shouldn't be lifting the woman up. She shouldn't be lifting me up. We should already be lifted together. We're already here. Let's just come together and grow. And I just feel with black women, I think what the best thing you can do, I don't want to go like, crazy. I mean, seriously, go to churches, libraries, places where, you can find like a lot of black people, and the black males that are there aren't always going to be hood dudes.
I reject this only to say that's not helping the population that we want to improve and enhance.
Yeah,
that's the ones who have already got it. They're going to be the church and the library. And what about the ones that we don't want on the block anymore? How do we change this cycle?
Yeah, the cycle, and I always go back to this. I know you guys roll your eyes when I say it.
Jobs.
Fatherhood, man. Fatherhood.
No.
That too.
I'm not going to roll my eyes because I think fatherhood is important. I think motherhood's important. I think you can have a father in the house and that he doesn't do anything too. You know that, right? There could be a dad could be in the house and not do anything,
and that's terrible.
And the woman is just doing everything.
That's a bad example. That's a bad example.
My mom and my stepdad.
See, that's a bad example. See.
There's a lot of dads that are in the house, but they don't even go to their son's basketball game.
They're horrible. That's horrible. That's a horrible example.
They're just literally there.
They're breathing, and that's just as bad as not being there.
Right.
And what it is, it's when it comes to fathers are very important, but you got to. Man, I lost train of thought there. I'm sorry. I hate when it happens. Values, of course, that are key. Values that are key. But a black man is important because, this is where I was going. Because when I see a hood dude, and when I was younger, they confused me. Especially being from Germany, moving to Baltimore, like, what the heck is this? Yeah. But when I got older, I figured what a hood dude was. A hood dude is a grown adult male, not a man, a male, adult male, with a black woman inside of him. Yeah, seriously, it's his mom inside of him. Seriously, when you walk on a bus, step on a dude's shoes. Hey man, you step on my shoes, bro. And they're ready to fight and kill you.
What does that do with being a black woman?
Because you're more worried about your fashion and the way you look.
No,
then
goodbye.
I'm speaking true. Listen what I gotta say. Because you're quick to get angry. You're getting angry over things to where, like my dad, he walked around with sweatpants on all day long.
Prejudice.
No, seriously, I didn't grow up thinking I had to dress and look fly and be like, oh, I'm
my dad wore suits.
My dad wore suits. Now my dad wore suits.
My dad shot the Brooks Brothers.
My dad wore suits.
But not all black women are like that.
Not all, but hood black women are. Hood black women.
Step on my shoe right now.
Hood black women are.
I'm rolling out of the house.
Hood black women are like that. And I see hood dude. It's just his hood mother inside of him.
I don't think it's an inside.
That's his role model is his mother. Because who's else going to be? It's going to be him with the dude in the street. That's going to be his only role model. And what happens with a young black child, a male, when we are about 6, 7 years old,
he's probably outside more than he's home, and his mom is probably not around. Working jobs, coming home late. He's on the block. I don't know.
And that's what he's getting raised by. He's getting raised by the block. He's getting raised by his mother. That's only role models he had. Because I had male role models all over the place. I had my dad. I had my dad's military friends coming over the house. I had strong black men all over the place.
I don't think we dispute that's necessary. But,
yes, it's definitely. But a hood dude doesn't have that. He doesn't. He has
because there's black mothers who are super attentive and loving and supportive and trying to push their children, and their boys still.
Acting bad.
I know the woman Shala. She's one of few. Not saying one of few. There's out there that are a single black woman who's raising her son the correct way. And what she does is she has him in sports constantly. He's all year round. He's lacrosse, football, basketball, baseball. He's always playing a sport. And what that does to a young black male without a father or uncle or anything like that, it gives him coaches that are there, and that's going to be his strong male influence.
Yeah, that's important. I think if we can end on that, I think. One thing we know from this conversation is we need more mentors. We need people that we can look up to that can help us strive out of our circumstances. Yeah. I think with the black community, a lot of times we don't have that in our particular homes. But if you look outside, if you play a sport, or if you have a great teacher, if you can find a role model somewhere that's not a horrible person that really cares. Mm-hmm. You'd be in a better place. Before it used to be churches, but
Oh yeah, I know. But my dad. One of my important things my dad's taught me was not to get quick to anger. Because when I would, I remember when I was young and I'll get to that angry little, mm-hmm. He would come and sit me down, calm me down, and said, "Relax. Why are you getting angry?" And talk with me. And then I learned, okay. So now that I'm an adult, like I'm not quick to get angry at something. I'm not like I think first before I act. Mm-hmm. And I see a young black males, they don't do that. They just act, and then they deal with repercussions later. And it's like. That's what a father's supposed to teach.
We gotta help them somehow.
We gotta help. Yeah. Okay, and we will end right there. Thank you all for listening to the Politrix podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to hear more like this, please let us know. Please hit subscribe, and leave us a comment. Let us know.
Follow.
Follow us. Oh my God, please follow us.
Share and follow.
Share and follow. Let us know what topics you want us to talk about. You can email us at politrixpod, P-O-D, at gmail.com. And I'm Kirsten J on Instagram.
Maxine.outerbridge.
Conservative in New York.
and have a great week, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Adios.